on that basketball court and they looked at the record. Okay? And in this particular championship game, the first team that won 3 games was the champions. Each team had 2 victories. This was the very last game. Now, mind you, every time the team that Ray was on won, they slaughtered the other team. But every time the team of this guy, we're going to say his name right now. We're going to call him Steve. Steve is the son of the woman that accused Ray of raping her daughter. And I hate to have to say that every time, but anyway. Every time they won, every time the team of Steve won, they won by a few points, or they won maybe by 1 point. They barely won. So this is the last game. Whoever wins this game is the champs. Got out on the court. First quarter was a good quarter. Steve was out on the basketball court, and he wasn't a good dunker because I'm not saying he couldn't dunk because he was white. But no, that's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying he didn't dunk because he could shoot. He was like Larry Bird come back from the dead. Even though Larry Bird isn't dead, Larry Bird, his career is dead. But he left behind a wonderful legacy, I admit. And he was out there shooting three-pointers, and then by the time the first quarter was over with, Steve's team was ahead by 10 points. Okay, now keep in mind, Ray wasn't one of the starters. I mean, he was a starter, but he didn't start the game. They were going to save him. So by the time the second quarter was over, it was a tie game. And they decided that in the third quarter, Steve's team, that they would keep Steve completely out of the third quarter. So the third quarter came. And then finally, the team that Ray was on put Ray out on the court. And Ray started to, go out on the court and do his thing. And people were like totally amazed that this blind man could get out there and play defense and offense. He wasn't just a guy that jumped up and slam dunked the ball. He could shoot and he could play defense. He could do it all, but he wasn't the kind of guy that would ever brag and say, I am a one-man team. No, when he went out on the court, he was with his whole team. They were like a chain, and there were no weak links in the chain to steal from Hulk Hogan from the WWE. One time I heard Hulk Hogan say there are no weak links in this chain. You know, if you listen to Survivor Series 88 WWE and their interview Survivor Series 88, Hulk Hogan said there are no weak links in this chain with his Survivor Series team. Well, same with Ray's team. They went out there, and by the time the third quarter was over, well, halfway through the third quarter, Steve's team, his coach realized that they were losing. So they had to put Steve back out there. And Steve actually went out there and almost caught his team up. Fourth quarter came and they were out there playing. And now we had Steve on the court at the same time as Ray was on the court. And it was a seesaw game back and forth. Bang, 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 like ping pong. And then halfway through the fourth quarter, they were tied. Okay? It was obvious. Every time Ray made a basket, whether he dunked it, slam dunked it, or whether he shot it, Steve would have to get out on the court and do the best that he could with the gift that he'd been given and go out there and shoot it. You know, he wasn't going to go try to do a slam dunk. Matter of fact, admittedly so, Steve couldn't jump that high. And no, this is not to say white men can't jump. This is just to say that he knew what he can do and what he couldn't do. But what he could do, he did it to the best of his ability. And most of the shots that he shot, he missed. But he made enough shots to where halfway through, they were right there, neck and neck, just about. Now we're down to 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. Surprisingly, Ray's team is losing by 1 point. Okay, now the game is played, and now we're down to 30 seconds. Ray's team is up ahead by 2 points. 30 seconds left. The score is 107 to 109. Ray's team is winning. All they got to do is keep the ball from going in the hoop of the team that Steve is on. And these are professional basketball teams. I ain't going to say the names of the team. Just know that they're good teams. I could make up names, but that wouldn't, I don't want to do that. 30 seconds. Steve has the ball, bouncing it, dribbling the ball, going down the court. Another player from Ray's team stole it from Steve. But then you have this really short little black guy on Steve's team reach under, scoop the ball up from his hands, throw it to Steve. 5 seconds left. Steve is in the 3-point range. Grabs the ball. Launches back, shoots the ball up, but just when he releases it, Ray jumped up, barely touched the ball, and the ball starts spinning out of control, but it's still going towards the basket. Bounces on the bucket of the basket on the rim,